Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Mash Debaters Presents Flaunt Your Stuff. My name is DeAndre Robinson, and this is my friend. Say hello, friend.
Hey, DeAndre, it's been a minute. My name is Angela Kiara Banks, and as of today, because I believe in seasonal purposes, so I may be doing something completely different in the next 6 months or a year. But as of today, I am a purpose coach. I am the founder of Soulful Liberation, which is a podcast as well as a book publishing company. And I'm an author. I'm an author of the Black Foster Youth Handbook. And my overall mission is to, my overall mission is to, uplift the voices of those unheard or overly marginalized and support the communities of low wealth in communities of color. So that's in economics, that's in finances, that's in politics, that's in overall well-being and health, and really bringing us back to our roots and where we came from before colonization, and moving forward. What is a legacy that we want to build? What is our purpose, and really making an impact in the community?
Okay, well, first and first, I've known you like so is that 3 years now? We used
Yeah.
to work. We used to work together in a nonprofit in Seaside, Oregon,
Yes.
and you were always like this. You were always looking out for the little man, looking out for people of color. And so, first things first, I want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. You're
Thank
doing a
you.
fantastic job. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Uh, but we're here to promote your book. All right. So
Hey.
yes. So talk about your there you go. So tell me about your book. Come on. Tell me
Yeah.
first. Tell me why write the book in the first place.
Yeah, so it's the Black Foster Youth Handbook, 50 plus lessons I learned to successfully age out of foster care and holistically heal. And whew, there's so many reasons why this book was created. Um, but one of the main reasons is, like I said, it's 50 plus lessons I learned. And these are things that I wish I would have known
Mhm.
when I was aging out. And in fact, I didn't age out. I didn't age out successfully. I was actually kicked out and given a 7-day notice. And really on the premise of I wasn't feeling safe in my foster home at the time. My foster parent had a lot of, she was single, she was in her late 40s, and arguably, possibly going through a midlife crisis, not quite sure. But she had several men coming in and out of her home. And I didn't feel safe. And there were a lot of other things that she would do that I just didn't agree with, which included trying to coerce me to drink alcohol or go to parties. And like at the time, I wasn't interested in doing any of that. And also, I was 19.
Mhm.
So I don't know why that was like a thing. And so there was a lot of things that bothered me about it. And I didn't know who to turn to because my social worker had actually, a couple weeks prior, she retired. And my guardian ad litem was actually removed from the case because a year prior, because I was in between placements, and my social worker thought it was okay for me to spend a couple nights at the airport. And my guardian ad litem was like, absolutely not.
Mhm.
That's not gonna be the case. You're gonna come and stay with me. And my social worker made sure that she was removed from the case. And so during that time, I didn't really have anybody to turn to. So I tried to go and talk to the case manager of the case. And unfortunately, I didn't know her relationship with my foster parent was very connected. And so I ended up wording the story as if it was like a third party thing. And I was like, what if, right? A what if scenario? What if this happens? What would be the protocol? And I guess she kind of read between the lines, and she went back and told my foster parent, which resulted in my foster parent being very angry. She felt like I shouldn't be telling, her business or what's going on in her house. And yeah, it just became a very unfortunate situation where she was trying to physically harm me. And by the end of that night, she told me that she was going to make sure that I would pay because I opened my mouth and told her business pretty much. And so that next day, I actually got an email from the supervising social worker of that division, which, by the way, I had been trying to contact her multiple times because I didn't feel safe and other things in that house, but I didn't get any responses. But I did get I did get an email that next day with a 7-day notice stating that, I was going to have to find somewhere else to stay. And, because XYZ things that were untrue. So after I got that email, I was like very upset, and I tried to contact that particular supervising social worker, and I tried to contact other social workers in the area. I tried to contact several people, but I ended up getting one social worker that responded. And I remember it was like on Facebook. And so it was like Facebook video chat, and he called me, and I was like crying, bawling my eyes out. Like my face was red. I was just like, oh my gosh, like I just need for people to hear my side. I don't really care about all this other type of stuff, but like, can I get a chance to talk about like my side of the story? Because I feel like it's just one side of the story, and people made an executive decision. And now in 7 days, I have to figure out a place with which at that point in time, I was going to start back school. I was going to start back college in 5 days. So I really had 3 days. So that way I would be able to get settled for classes. Right. So it was really frustrating. And so I'm like crying, and I'm like trying to FaceTime or Facebook video chat this social worker. And I'm like, this is what happened. They just sent me an email, and like, how can I get some kind of meeting so that way we can have a conversation and I can really say, my side what happened. And then, I don't necessarily want to stay here, but we can find some other ways. I don't think that it's okay that like I only have 7 days. And so the social worker ends up just telling me like, basically, they already, because I was under the CARS agreement, which is 18 to 21 extension. And apparently under one of those clauses is that basically by any means necessary, if anything happens, even if it's on their fault, the foster parents' fault or your caregiver's fault, then yeah, you get kicked out. It doesn't matter. So that's pretty much what he explained to me and told me that that's just what it was, and that I was just going to have to deal with it. I was going to have to figure it out. And basically he hung up. And so after that, I was just like, wow, like, all these other different questions of like, why doesn't anyone care? Why doesn't anyone like, why do people think that this is okay? And so my dad was actually the person, my dad was a person that actually came and helped me move. And I found a place on Craigslist and moved there. And it was very rocky even then. So for me, it's like, if I could go back in time and the lessons that I've learned throughout my life from that moment, right? And even before then and now, what are some of the pivotal ways that I can put that into a book and really help a young person, and also a supportive adult on the other end, supportive adults, CASAs, social workers, foster parents, be able to really see how they can support young people, even if it's not them, having some plans in place in order to kind of alleviate a lot of the issues that people in with the experience of foster care have to go through. And then you're not only just healing as a young person, you're not only just healing from your trauma before foster care, you're also healing from the trauma of foster care. So I break it up into 4 phases. So it's called the Real Success Model. And I don't know how far along you've been able to read.
I am on page 265.
Oh wow, you are deep in there.
So here's the thing. So I mean, obviously but I mean, I was in foster care too. I mean,
Yeah.
I am much older than you are, but I was in foster care as well. So
Yeah.
I would like to know things that I could have done or couldn't have done to help my situation as well. I got extended to 21 as well, and I wanted to know what I could do. So this was actually very, very informative. How long did it take you to write this book?
It took me since February, from February to July, and then it was all editing. And I would say when I got to July, so that was March, April, May, June, July, about 5 months. When I got to July, I wanted to just like stop before I got into the editing, because editing is the most like extensive process about publishing a book. And I just wanted to stop and like wait a few months pretty much, because I was so like, I channeled so much energy and I went through so much like going back and like thinking about my trauma and like a lot of stuff. And I was so tired, but I realized that especially when the pandemic came up, because the pandemic came around March, April, and I was like, oh snap, like on top of foster care, now young people that are currently experiencing foster care have to deal with COVID. Like, oh my gosh. So I was like, I need to get this book out by any means necessary. This just needs to happen. Like, I need to really just take a few days. So I took like 2 days, and then I found an editor and I just went hard. I got the first edits, and then I took it back and I completely rearranged the entire book. And then it went through another editing process, and then I launched in September. So
I haven't had a book published, but I have some articles published, and even with the articles, the editing process is amazing.
Oh gosh.
So I understand what you're going through. Being a Black foster kid, can you describe what it's like being a Black foster, being someone of color in the foster care system?
Yeah, I think I have like a whole.
In your eyes. Oh, no, I mean, I know it's a hair, but
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah, and I think it's so many different layers to it, because when I talk to people that are of African or indigenous descent, or some people they think that they're Hispanic and they don't know their true identity because of colonization and different whitewashed history. We end up really forgetting like where we come from and our roots, and we kind of feel shameful about our history, right? Because it's just the slave times, but we don't dive deeper into it because that shame doesn't let us like go deeper into who we really are, where we really came from, all these other different aspects, and really claiming it as our own again. And I think when you're a young person in foster care, you have another layer of that, because it's one thing when, you're already of African or indigenous descent and you're here in America without those connections and those roots. And you're having to navigate again what that really means for you. And then 2, you have the other layer of, foster care, which is also a system of separation of families a lot of times. And so it just further separates you from yourself. And you have to like relearn how to bond to yourself, 1. And then 2, and your culture and your identity and like who you really are. Like, who am I aside from the trauma? Like, the trauma I think the trauma creates another identity of who you needed to be to endure and survive the trauma and those traumatic states. And then some people never get out of that. So it's like survival mode. So 1, reclaiming who you are, your culture, identity. And then 2 is this constant, like weird, I don't know, I call it like a bipolar mentality, where it's like, I can do anything in the world. And like, all these other different things. And like, I'm more than just my flesh, and I'm a soul, and all these other different things. But then on the other end, like really recognizing the colorism and institutional racism and the modern day lynchings and the heaviness of what that really means if you do decide to claim, this history of what's happened to our people. And I think that can be very heavy at times, especially if you're not like, if you don't have community that, 1, validate experience, because there's a lot of people that say that racism doesn't exist in America, which just, first of all, that's a loaded statement.
That's a false statement. I hate that. Oh, God damn it, that's a fucking false statement. People that say that, and then I don't see color and all that kind of stuff. Yes. I hate those statements, because that's just saying that you choose not to see what's going on with the people that's different color than that you are. And I hate that statement with a passion. I hate that there's no more racism. I hate the statement where they say I don't see color, or I'm like you. Those kind of statements it bothers me badly, and I know it bothers other people as well.
And I felt that deep breath to kind of like center yourself again. So I
Mm.
felt that.
Yeah, let's go about to
felt that
snap.
on
I'm about to go off.
felt that on a spiritual level.
Mm-hmm.
But I do that a lot, especially like, when you are in spaces where like people are gonna just invalidate your experience. It's those breaths that really take you back to like, okay, like I just gonna. But yeah, so I would say that's like one of the biggest difficulties in recognizing that like our people, they really need a lot of healing, ourselves included. Like there's so many different levels to it. And to decolonize yourself, which is something I also talk about in the book, not too much in depth, but I just touch on it. To decolonize yourself means to rethink even your viewpoint on how you see every single thing, because we're taught to see it through a specific lens, a specific viewpoint, and it's called his story for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to really dig deep and ask ourselves, if first of all, if that's even important to us. What is the other side? What are the other sides of those stories? What are the other sides of those stories other than the one that has been shoved in our face? To say that people of African descent are primitive, and it was it was something that was needed to be done. Slavery was something that was needed to be done, or that it was even justified in any way. Um, that is one particular lens, or that people of indigenous descent weren't really anything without Europeans coming in and completely disrupting that system, and creating the system that we know today. So for me, I'm always challenging, asking those questions to myself, like, and other people. What if that's not true? What if that's what if that's one side of the story? Where's the other side of the story? Where's the story of the ones oppressed? So yeah, that's what I'll say to that question.
Okay, well, let's go back to the book. All right, because we could talk about this a lot, man. I don't mind talking about this. We talk about this forever. I get I'm in so many groups and so many nonprofits that I work with, helping out people of color, everywhere. I
Yeah.
mean, so I could talk about this for days. But back to the book. I do have a question, a fan question, actually, quote unquote. Uh, what would you, how I could put this? What would you say to a foster kid of color that been bounced around a lot, and he or she doesn't feel like they belong anywhere?
um what I would say is that, whew, home is a state of mind. Home is something that you can cultivate
Mm-hmm.
at any point in time, with yourself or with others. And secondly, you were never meant to do anything in life alone. You're never meant to be alone and figure it out by yourself. And unfortunately, a lot of times that is the case. We have this narrative, and I would also say a culture sometimes, that is really dependent on being independent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a false narrative, because when you read and you study very wealthy and successful people, they always have a group of people that's behind them, and people that love them, adore them, open doors for them. And so you have to begin to ask yourself, you know is staying in your own lane, as far as being by yourself, is that really being is that success to you? Is that what home feels like to you? I mean, truly? And that, I mean, these are very honest conversations you have to have with yourself, because I mean, no one can answer these questions for you. Um, how do you define love? How do you define home?
Yeah, I'm on that part of the book.
Yeah.
And that's a great listen. Also, all serious stuff. I just turned 32 this year, and yeah, I know I'm old. I got the salt and the pepper in the beard. But as a 32-year-old man, I still have a hard time defining what love is. I know that I can feel love. I know that I love most of my family and friends. It's just that that love, like that, like sometimes it's just hard to see, like even as a 32-year-old man, degrees and everything, yeah, it wanted, it's still hard to find out what love is. So when I got to that part of the book, I'm like, damn, like like so that's a good part of the book. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I just think, when you're really diving into those conversations, with yourself, those are things that come up, right? It's like it hits like, oh
Mm-hmm.
shit, I don't think I really even asked myself that question. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and those are the questions that I would, aid any young person to really start digging into and start finding the answers for yourself. Well, you got a head start with the Black Foster Youth Handbook, but
Mm-hmm.
you gotta define it for yourself and really start actively cultivating that around you and having that be your new normal and your new mainstream idea versus other not so great definitions that we might have needed to pick up during a certain time and endure, or get through, but we find out later, that really wasn't love actually. So I'm gonna just throw that in the trash. Yeah.
So you wrote this book, and like I said, it's a great book. I'm almost done. It's fantastic. So what is next for you after the book?
So I'm actually right now, pertaining to the book, there is a $10 off holiday sale that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually $10 cheaper
Mm-hmm.
from now until December. I will be doing a revised version of the book. And then I will be working on the workbook and the audiobook, which people have been consistently asking me for the audiobook.
So, but my question was after the book, though. So, what's going on with you after the book?
Yeah, so I'm doing some purpose coaching. So I will be launching my purpose coaching program in December 12th. And I'm actually going to start doing some author coaching next year, because I think we need more stories, like I said, from low income communities of color, whether you had the experience of child welfare or poverty. I think that's a big narrative, and any kind of issues around that, mental health,
Mm-hmm.
child abuse, like those types of things, I think are narratives that need to be told in order to incite change and really thinking through some very clear solutions in the future. Because when I was around some organizations, and I'm sure you've probably been across these same ones, I noticed that there's a lot of talking. Like there was there was one organization in particular, I'm not going to call it out, but it was talking about a 20-year conversation. And that, we're dressing up, going to all these banquets, and everybody's giving, millions of dollars. Well, not me, everybody else.
Everybody else.
Millions of dollars, and we need to stop foster care malpractices and all these other different things. But why are we still having a 20-year conversation about it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we're having a conversation, there needs to be a conversation, then action steps, and then execution. Why is there a 20-year conversation? And at the end of the event, they're talking about, and this concludes another one of our 20-year conversation. We'll be back next year. Like, no, I won't be back. I'll be actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing to create change.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, yes, I'm really focused on that right now. There's definitely a few other things in the works. I'm also working on my podcast. So I'm more than definitely going to be getting you on that podcast. So look for that.
But you want to hear me preach? Like, that's going to happen.
Hey, yeah, absolutely.
So if anyone haven't told you, and I'm pretty sure people have, but if anyone haven't told you, I am very, very proud of you. Like I said, 3 years ago, you were this, no offense, this little black girl that I used to work with, with a powerful voice. You had a powerful voice back then, and it just got stronger, 3 years in advance. So I want to thank you, and I am proud of you.
Thank you.
I do want to say this though. So I went on your YouTube page, right?
Yeah.
And you came. So when we went at the seaside, you went back home and came back to visit. We went out. Me, you, and a couple of our friends went out to this bar, and you did a vlog.
Yes.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I see myself in this vlog.
Yes.
Destroying some food and about dancing and singing. I knew nothing about this. I knew nothing about that at all.
Yeah, I remember that I was recording on Snapchat, and I just downloaded the videos from Snapchat and added it to my blog. But yeah, that was a crazy night.
So last but not least, can you tell whoever's going to listen to this or see this on YouTube, can you tell them where you can go and get the book?
Yes, absolutely. So you can head over to www.Black Foster Youth Handbook. It wouldn't let me just put Foster Youth Handbook. I don't know why, but the Black Foster Youth Handbook, right? So www.blackfostercareyouthhandbook.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. With that being said, my name is DeAndre Robinson. This is my friend. Say goodbye, friend.
Peace.
All right.